Hi, ECF. I hope you're doing well this week. We plan on doing part two of what I started last week during the Newswire, but we're going to move that a week, and I'm going to address some of the things that are going on in our world today. I, along with almost all of you, continue to be sad and shocked at the senseless death of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and so many other African Americans who've been treated unjustly due to racial prejudice. And it's been difficult to find a light this week amongst all the protests and amongst the protests. We had some of the riots going on, and it's come really close to where a lot of us are living. And so we've watched this. It's really been difficult to find much of a bright light in all this. And it's really been heartbreaking to me to know that so much of the message, the message that needs to get out there is being squashed down and simply lost because of the bad actors who've come in and decided they wanted to be destructive. And it's totally taken the message of those who are there for the right reason, and it's getting lost. And so I decided on Monday when I was flying to Dallas. I'm flying for the first time, just first time in an airplane since we've had the stay-at-home orders and in hotels and everything else. It's been a little bit eerie, a little empty on the airplanes, which has been nice. But I decided on Monday on my flight to make an effort to start listening to people again and to start listening again for the explicit message that we are to hear right now, and not get distracted by the bad actors who simply want to be destructive, because my mind keeps pointing back to them. And I've thought so much about what Jesus would do, and I would like to think that he would look for those who are truly hurting and ask them to simply tell him their story, and then just listen and listen to those depths, those deep parts of their hearts. So my goal for the next couple weeks is to make sure I just listen and keep a lot of my opinions to myself. The only way I figure I can learn to do good and seek justice and correct oppression and bring justice to the fatherless and plead the widow's case is to truly listen. And that's what we're instructed to do by Isaiah in Isaiah 1. I find it amazing when you can sit across from someone like I did this morning and listen. So for the last several years, when I come to Plano, I stay in the same hotel. I've gotten to know the staff extremely well. And Tiba is just is an African-American lady about my age, and just a wonderful lady. And we have a lot of conversations and just about family and everything. And she's got grown kids and she has grandkids that are teenagers. And I said, Tiba, she came over and sat and just stood there as I was eating this morning. She said, Mr. Parker, tell me what's going on with you. And I said, you know what, T, but don't worry about that. What I want to know about you. I want to know about how you're dealing with all this. And she said, and she paused and she said, well, it's been kind of hard. And she said, my son is really, really upset. But she said, they live in a pretty nice neighborhood that has a lot of white people in it. And she says, my son's 16-year-old was stopped by the police not long ago, walking to his house in his own neighborhood, and had not done anything for no reason and was being harassed by the police. And they asked him, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Why are you walking here? And she said, she said, I don't blame them. I'm worried about them out there. My son is standing up and is being vocal, and he's protesting quietly. I mean, he's protesting not violently at all, but he's in the middle of that. And she goes, I'm worried about him. I wish they didn't have to do this. And I tell him maybe they should stay home and do it on social media. But she goes, I understand. And I said, well, from a mother's heart, what do you think? She goes, well, Dave, I went through this, back on the civil rights time. And she goes, I know about all this. And I hate for them to have to go through this. And I said, Tiva, I'm so sorry we're having to still fight some of these battles over and over again. But I just want you to go home and tell your kids that there are people out there who really care about them and that their voice matters. I just wanted to listen. I find it amazing when you can do that. My brightest light of my week, I think, has probably been the video of the sheriff, Chris Swanson, in Flint, Michigan. And he had all of his riot gear on, all of his team had the riot gear on, and the protesters were kind of coming at them, and they were trying to figure out, he said, when I saw the crowd and felt their frustration, and the fact that we were only accelerating the issue, it was time for me to take my helmet off and go to the shot caller, the lead organizer, and give him a big fat hug and say, what do we need to do? He said, that was the tension breaker. And the organizer simply said, walk with us. And so he said, we took off our riot gear, we laid down our batons, and we walked with him. And then he told him, he said, hey, if we're going to walk, we're We're not going to have a protest. We're going to have a parade. And the video, you just got to go look at the video. It was amazing. It was just a bright light, because I thought, you know what? If that doesn't work in every situation, obviously, and it worked wonderfully. And I thought, what an influence that man is going to have on that community for years to come. He's going to have the ear and the voice and be able to listen to so many people. I thought how blessed he was and how blessed his future is. I'll let you go look up the video, but it really showed me what empathy and compassion and a listening ear can do to make progress. I hope that you are dealing with this in your own head, and that you're coming to some healthy, godly conclusions on everything. And I just want to encourage you through the process to continue to listen to people and be like Jesus would want us to be. God bless your week. Love you.